Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Ladies Wot Pod, episode 19.
19.
And we've just done an interview with the wonderful former Premiership referee, Ash Rowden. Much loved by the residents of C Block. Even mentioned you in the interview. An absolute superstar, talking about mine and Lizzie's particular favourite laws and how the game is refereed today. He is a treat, isn't he?
He is. I was going to say, you say interview as if we were able to guide it in any way, shape or fashion, rather than a stream of consciousness, really. You ask a question
a stream of consciousness.
Absolutely fantastic. It's brilliant. Really brilliant.
So we'll leave you to listen to the wonderful Ashley Rowden. Enjoy, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon. This afternoon, we are joined by a face familiar to old hands down the gardens. He's familiar with many cries of, "You don't know what you're doing," and "Who ate all the pies?" I seem to recall, Ash. People used to get quite personal with their insults to you. Our old friend Ash Rowden is joined us deep in sunny Berkshire, is it? You are,
correct,
Ash, now?
Correctly. It's deep in lovely sunny Reading.
Right. But the rugby club that is more important is not Reading Rugby Club, is it, Ash? Let's get your plug in early. Tell us.
The club is Rams, that used to be called Old Reading Gentians when I first joined them when I was 7. That was 57 years ago when my dad dragged me along. And then we became an open club in 1973. Because we were struggling with numbers like a lot of old boys clubs, and we became Reading Gentians. And then our CEO, who's been CEO for about 20 odd years now, decided to change the name about 4 or 5 years ago because a lot of people couldn't actually pronounce Reading Gentians. And we thought Rams was a lot easier because also Rams is related to Berkshire. So we are Rams. From the town of Reading, but we are not Reading Rugby Football Club, as recently quoted on the Under-20 Six Nations Championship, where I think it was Derry Morris, not Derry Morris, the other scrum half, Steve Smith, said for the French game, there's so-and-so, good old George, our fly half from Reading Rams. And then the week before in the Ireland game, it was Rams Reading Rugby Football Club. And I was throwing objects at my laptop.
And having a little rant on Facebook as well.
Because I've done broadcasting in the past, I said to everyone, first law of broadcasting,
do your research.
And if you don't do your research, don't say anything, because you just make yourself look an even bigger idiot. So, I was, for us as a club, admittedly, George came to us from London Irish Academy, but to have a player playing for England under-20s as starting fly half at a level 3 club is quite an achievement. Hopefully we hang on to George. We might not, but hopefully we do. He's a quality player.
And played well.
He played well, yeah. Although he doesn't play fly half for us, he plays full back.
It's one of those.
I think he's done enough to go to the under-20 World Cup. And we wish him all the best, and we don't stand in the way of any of our players who want to better themselves. So if he gets an offer from a Premiership club or a Championship club, he goes with our best wishes. We all feel that we should be a Championship club because we mucked it up last year and allowed Cambridge to get promoted, and it looks like we probably mucked it up again this year and allowed Chinner to get promoted. We are ambitious, and we do want to be in the Championship.
Wouldn't it be grand to see you at Bedford? Be grand to meet up on the terraces at Bedford.
Yeah, yes. And it's not like I was disappointed. The nice thing about, and my role with Rams is fairly simple. I was a sponsor, but now I've sold my company. So now I'm just I'm the water carrier and I carry on the kicking tee. But unlike Neil Jenkins, I don't tell referees that they should be refereeing the game when I run on the pitch.
No.
In actual fact, I keep my mouth shut because even at level 3, you can hear what the referee is saying and you can hear what people say to the referee. Since coaches are convinced that I am refereeing the game from the sideline, which is not true whatsoever. Because I know how hard it is to referee at that level, so I keep stum, even when I think a referee's not having his best day at the office. I wouldn't dream of actually saying anything to any referee when I'm on the pitch. I'd normally say, "Would you like a drink, sir?" And they take a bottle off me, and that's about it. So there's the plug. Rams.
Brilliant.
Very good. Very good.
Formerly Reading Gentians, now Rams are.
I see why you changed the name, to be honest. Reading Gentians don't really trip off the tongue, does it, really?
It doesn't, does it? It was a bit of a mouthful. So Rams is a lot easier. And yes, Reading is literally just over the road from us. We're one side of the A4. They're the other side. They're no more than, as the crow flies, 600 yards. You know, and so they are that close. And, you know, they've had their good times at the top, but we're still good friends with them. And funny enough, at our last home game that we should have won or would like to have won and we lost, we had 40 ex-Reading first team members having lunch at our place.
Oh, wow.
I'm told they didn't see any of the game. They just sat drinking. So,
the bar did quite nicely out of it.
Yeah, the bar did very well. As I said, we you know, we're very friendly with them. But when you have someone representing you wearing the white shirt, you just like the media to get it right as to which club he's playing. Come from.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Right. There's that bit done.
That's that bit done. Excellent. Right. Would you like to tell us how you got to be a ref? Your journey to becoming a top flight ref? Talk us through it.
I'll give you the short answer. So
because
the short answer is when I was 7, my dad, who was a member of Old Reading Gentians because he went to Reading School, dragged me along when he first started taking up refereeing himself. So that's 1966. 6 years later, at the age of 13, he was due to referee our 4th team versus another local 4th team. Old Reading Gentians were a player short, and he just said, "I'll play, Ash will referee," which the RFU would have palpitations if that now. I then sort of refereed privately from 13 to 17, joined Berkshire Society at 17, gave up when I was 21 because I felt that I wasn't being pushed quick enough. How times have changed. If you're young and good now, you get absolutely fast-tracked through the system. I went to play semi-professional football for 6 years. I came back when I was 27. I was refereeing on a Saturday, playing football on a Sunday, broke my leg, and the guy in charge of Berkshire referees said, "Ash, if you want to get to the top refereeing, you can't afford any injuries." And from 27, 31, I was on the top 80, 33, I was on the top 40, and 35, I got in the top 10. Which is about, I did it about 8 years, which is probably about average even now, I think. I'm not sure Luke Pearce or Christoph Ridley did it that much quicker, nor Wayne Barnes. Not from actually starting from refereeing.
Yeah.
I obviously had, when I came back when I was 27, I had a lot of experience already, and I sort of was fast-tracked through the Berkshire system and then fast-tracked through the Southwest system. But I think Chris White said he did it about also 7 or 8 years, and that's to get from refereeing from starting scratch to top 10. If you can do it in 8 years, better than 8 years, you've got to be absolutely, I would say, off the scale. Because the other thing is, they found out with Wayne, and I still tell the story of when I first worked with Wayne as a reserve referee at Franklin's Gardens, when he sin-binned Seamus. I want to say Seamus Malone, but it's not. The playing outside centre. He yellow carded him when Alan Solomons was the manager, and he was 40 yards away from the ruck.
Yes.
Not Seamus Malone. You know what I mean. Is it Seamus Mallon?
It's Mallon, yes.
Seamus Mallon.
Yes.
Yeah, and I remember Lenny Newman going, "What the was that for, Ash?" And I went, "Well, he's learning his trade." And he went, "In hell." And so even for someone like Wayne, the thing is, what I try and explain to lots of people is that when you're in the middle, you're on your own. And if you're having a poor game, you can't, Wayne Smith doesn't say, get off number 6 because he's having a nightmare. Phil Dowson doesn't say, get off so-and-so, he's having a nightmare. We can't be replaced. We're there on our own. And you cannot buy experience. You have to earn it.
Because we're going to cut to the chase. Should we cut to the chase?
Yeah.
To the chase.
Yeah. So there's the thing that Liz and I were across about, and there's 2 parts to this question. One is the specific about the advantage that was played right at the end. You'll know the game because your lad was playing in it. And the England under-20s, that advantage that seemed to be played for about a month.
The one in the Irish game. The one in the Irish game.
It's the one in the Irish game. Well, we all went, what? Ended up about a metre. Well, it ended up with a knock-on right by the try line, and he pulled it all the way back, and he'd been running for about 100 seconds back. Yeah. So that's that one. And then actually we've got a more generic question because it's becoming a bit... there's a group of us who are now saying, look, when you give a penalty and you're playing advantage in the 22, just say to the captain, would you like 5 or 3 points? And then we can get off and re-kick off the game because it isn't actually playing advantage. It's now
2 bites.
Let's just wait until you score. So we've got the specific of that England game, and then we've got the advantage law in the 22. Okay. What is it supposed to be? Because it's turning into something ridiculous.
Well, this is the bit that you probably won't like to hear. It is the referee's discretion. Oh. The advantage in the Irish game. The advantage in the Irish game. Because I tend to, because I'm a bit anal, I suppose. I'm looking at the pictures on the screen, but I'm also listening to the referee and the commentator, who had no idea that he was still playing advantage. I did. I knew he was.
I did as well. Yeah.
I thought he went on too long. I'd have gone because I knew if you're this, and this is what I mean, it comes down to experience. You've got. So first of all, I spoke to George on the Saturday, and I went, if you go into the lead with less than 2 minutes to go, where do you think the opposition are going to kick the ball when they restart? They're going to kick it about 10 metres because they have to win the ball back. He said, I know, Ash. I was telling them, move forward. And they were saying, no, we're okay here. So, first of all, and then I say to people, as I say to Rams players, if you don't play properly, you bring the referee into the equation. England allowed Ireland to get the ball back. Yeah. If they'd have re-won that restart, England, we wouldn't be talking about the advantage as we speak now.
No.
So, first of all, what I said was, I say to at all levels, whether it be under 11s or England first team, as players, if you don't do your job properly, you will bring the referee into the equation. So if England had stepped up and won the ball on the 10-metre line, we wouldn't be having this debate about how long should advantage be. But they didn't. So then they bring the referee into the equation because they hadn't done their job very well. Having said that, then the referee, when he gives the first penalty to England, knowing that Ireland had already scored 1, if not 2 tries off drive-in mauls, I'm thinking, right, go through a couple of phases, down the blind side. They're not going anywhere. Give the penalty. When he doesn't do that and he then allows play to continue, it doesn't look good. I agree. But that comes with experience. That if that had been Steve Lander, Tony Spreadbury, Ed Morris and Brian Campsall in that situation, they'd have probably gone through 2 phases and then gone, no advantage, we go back for the penalty. They'd have kicked to the corner, had the driving line out, and they'd have scored or not scored. So it looked not very good. The reality is that the advantage is solely at the discretion of the referee. So that's why you often hear him say to the 9, I'm still playing advantage. If you then take that on to we're in the 22, maybe the call should be, do you want to go for 5 or 3? And if they say we're going to go for 5, say, if you don't score, that's your problem then. Now,
And that's what we would hope would happen, Ash. But watching as many games as we do, I think that's happening less and less.
It probably
I think
is.
It really is.
Yeah. No,
if you don't score, we're going all the way back. And you can hear the crowd go, "Oh God, here we go, all the way back," and off we go again.
What the crowd don't necessarily appreciate, that as referees, we want teams to score tries. There's nothing better than a team scoring a try, and I think, as I speak from experience, I don't know. It's 15 years now since I refereed a Premiership game, but it's sort of, you get suckered into that. You're willing the team that have got the ball to score a try, and then you sort of forget sometimes how long you're playing advantage, and sometimes you need a good AR to say they've just gone through 3 phases. Actually, they're not going anywhere.
Yes,
so
20 minutes is a little long for advantage. Maybe give the other side a chance. Maybe. Just a thought.
Well, when the referee in the England-Ireland game went as long as he did, even I went at home, that was a rather long advantage, wasn't it? You know, so I think that sort of, and for me, I've just been clearing out the loft, and I found some stuff from literally 25, 26, 27 years ago. I found some reports when I was like when I first got on the top 10, 95, 96, and the people who assessed me said my advantage was very good, and I felt that I did have a good feel for the game. But again, it's not something that it takes time to sort of like, you have. There's many factors to take into account. Like, I don't know, if you're at Tigers in their heyday and the opposition knocked the pass on 8 meters from the line, you're thinking, just put the scrum down, because that's what Welford Road wants, and that's what Tigers players want. You get to know where people. I did a game, fun enough, with Italy against Wales under 20s, and this is, like, as I said, 25 years ago, and Italy were awful at the scrum, so I did everything during the game to play advantage. In actual fact, the assessor said, I thought you played too much. And I said, but Italy couldn't win their own scrum ball. So if Wales knocked on, what was the use of giving them a scrum? Because Wales was just going to get the ball back. And it's things like that that takes, it doesn't happen overnight. But I think, if I'm going to be slightly critical of the modern official, I think they do play advantage too long. But I just think they're keen to see, and you as a crowd, you want to win, but you want to win playing entertaining rugby. But on the flip side of that, if you said to the FG faithful, right, we're going to win the Premiership by winning every game 3-0 and the final 3-0, you'd all go, yes, please. And there's that balance between, we want to win, but we want to win playing attractive rugby.
Yeah.
And I think the referees get sort of suckered into that. People have come to watch a game of rugby, not see loads of kicks or goals. So, and I was also conscious personally, might be a bit different now, but of course in the old days, there was only 1 or 2 games per weekend on television with Sky. And I did one game where early on, I got absolutely, and I've read the report because that's how long ago it was, where I sort of opted out of law occasionally because I was trying to make a spectacle, and I got told never ever referee like that again, because there's an old adage: a referee can make a good game better, but he can't make a bad game good.
Well, he's put 50p in the slot.
Isn't Reading like in the technical corridor of the M4, and you've got a hamster driving your Wi-Fi? It appears.
I know. It says I've got a good signal. The internet is about as bad as my refereeing, isn't it?
It's what, intermittent?
good days and bad days.
Flaky reffing.
So we're gonna ask you the next question, right?
Far away.
Who was the most irritating, annoying player to referee?
Austin Healy.
Oh, brilliant! Oh,
Yes.
Excellent! Yes.
Why particularly? Do we have to ask?
I will say this: what a great player! You know, very versatile. Yes. I refereed him at Tigers when he played 9, 10, 11 and 14, I think. But he was, he was the gobby scouser. You know, you'll find with Rosie and I talk about this, that there are very few characters left in the game now, because we were lucky, you know, I particularly, because I started before Rosie, that I started off when the guys were still training twice a week and had jobs. So you had characters like Tim Rodber, Budge Pountney, people like that. Now, all they know is rugby, these kids. They go into the academy, they either get taken on as a full-time professional in the Premiership, or they drop down as part-time in the Championship, or full-time, but there's really not a lot of money in the Championship, or they go into National 1. But I think Rosie talks about the last person who really used to challenge a referee was Steve Borthwick. But in my day, you'd have... Yeah, he was, you know, although it's changed. I think Saracens recently became quite hard. And they took it almost in turns being difficult. So you'd have, if it wasn't Manu Vunipola having a go at you, it was Billy. If it wasn't Billy, it was Farrell. If it wasn't Farrell, it was Brad Barrett. And if it wasn't Brad Barrett, it was Goody at the back. But in the main, players tend to...
tag team in irritation.
Whose turn is it this week? Yes.
Yeah. In our day, you know, you had so many characters, you know, and so, as I said, the modern game is harder to referee because there's so many people want referees to be perfect. And newsflash, everyone, referees are human, and even the TMO is human. They will make mistakes, even when they're being shown something 8 or 9 times. I did TMO 3 or 4 times. I didn't like it. As spreaders said to me, you like to see things in front of you and you make a decision. With the TMO, you sit there, and I remember looking at one incident, and the boys from BT were almost laughing, because I remember Nick Mullins saying, yes, I think we're going to get there eventually. Ash is getting round to making a decision. I kept looking at something, and you almost see something, a foul play incident. It instead of getting better, it gets worse the more you look at it. And you're thinking,
yeah.
So while it's in our day, there was more, in inverted commas, violence on the pitch. There weren't so many cameras, and you had a lot of big characters, you know. So it was not unusual to have... I remember I did Sale versus Tigers on a Friday night, and I remember unwisely trying to step in between Dean Schofield and Ben Kay as they squared up to each other. You know.
No, just let him get on with it.
Yeah, no, it was never my style. You know, I'm trying to because I never wanted to yellow card or red card anyone. But I think there's far less of that, but now it's far more technical. Like, well, no, actually, that's not a genuine steal, because he put his hands on the ground and then he went on the ball. And what also people don't understand, as I found out, television slows everything down. But trust me, when you're on the pitch, it is never as slow as it looks on TV.
No.
And so referees, are human, and they're not going to get everything right. And as I said, if you want to apply the law rigidly, then we need to rip up the law book and start again, because there are so many offences being committed all over the pitch all the time. And as I said, that's the skill of the modern referee, picking the ones that sort of count. As it was in our day, we were trying to pick the ones that count. But penalty counts now are about 20 on average, and less in test matches, because if you away penalties for your team, there are 4 or 5 other players who can replace you. if you give away penalties playing for Tigers or Saints, there aren't 4 or 5 players that the coach can bring in the following week. Backy, you gave away 6 penalties, but I've got no one as good as you, so you've got to play again next week. It's a bit different at test match level because, 1, they spend longer together. 2, they are the creme de la creme of the players. But 3, more than anything, players know that if they don't perform, they will be dropped. And giving away penalties is the worst thing you can do. So we were at about 30 penalties in my day. I remember once I did Tigers at home to someone, and bless him, Peter Wheeler chased me down the tunnel after the game saying 25, it wasn't 25 because I hadn't built the big stand. 19,000 people haven't come here to see you give 31 penalties. But so...
well, I remember a ref saying something similar to that. The Gardens, it wasn't your good self, it was somebody else, and there was having to reset scrum after scrum after scrum, and whoever it was, it might have been Greg Garner, said something about, look, all these people have not come to watch you.
And he was on RefLink.
Looking at the front rows. Yeah. You 6 sit around in the scrums. Get it right. So this great cheer went up.
The same referee who took the Dixon brothers and said, right, you stand at that end and you stand at that end. If you can't get on, I'm going to stand you at either end. And of course, then he realised he had nobody to put the ball in the scrum. Much to the amusement.
One of the things about miking us up, actually, it made our job even harder because what Greg would have used in polite terms, I wouldn't have used. I was known for Ed Morrison used to say to me every time I was going on TV, remember, Ash, your public property for 80 minutes, because he knew I used industrial language on a fairly frequent basis because I felt that worked with the front rows because that's the only thing they understood. And I actually called out the 2 front rows in a game once, and I said exactly what Greg said, but in far less words, and there were a lot more F words involved in it. But because I wasn't mic'd up, you see, no one, apart from and I remember one of the players actually saying, Ash, calm down. I went, when you start rummaging properly. But you get games like that.
I love it. The players are telling you to calm down. That's awesome.
Well, that's, I like to think that's the sort of relationship I did have with the players. Colin High once said to me, you're too friendly with the players. And I went, how many have I sent off in the Premiership, Colin? I'm friendly with them before the game. I'm friendly with them after the game. But if they muck me around on the pitch, I take no prisoners. And until Wayne came along and had the longevity he had in his career, I think I'd sent off more players in the Premiership than anyone else. Not always my decision. Sometimes it was the AR, but I had an AR say to me, who's been a long time retired now, he said, Ash, I always enjoyed working with you. You were the best because you backed your ARs or touch judges as they were in those days. So if an AR said it's a red card, I didn't try and talk them out of it. It was a red card. And sort of like that then gives your team of 3 confidence, you see, to make big decisions because they know that the leader is going to back them up. So, yes, miking us up, certainly for someone like me who is fairly loquacious and also is prone to using industrial language on a frequent basis, miking me up actually didn't help me that much because it restricted how I could communicate with some of the less intelligent members of the team.
Right. We've got a couple of final questions for you before we let you go. Your favourite ground to ref in?
I'm going to say something now where everyone who follows Premiership rugby will go, you are joking, and I'll explain why. And the ground is Bath.
Oh.
Now,
did you you were not always raining, chucking it down with rain and it was a bog?
Two things. Bath was where I did my first ever big game in 92. I did them in a friendly against Blackheath. and there was about 5,000 watching,
Oh.
which from a boy from Berkshire was like, this is like being at Twickenham. So that was one of the things. And two, as in the middle, sort of like in the middle 2000s, when I was in the pomp of my career, you used to run out into the middle of the pitch and you used to look around and you used to see the lovely rolling hills in the background. You'd see the beautiful Edwardian architecture, and you knew how many great players from in their prime had played for Bath on that pitch. And I used to think, I'm getting paid to do this, quite a lot of money, and actually I would pay the RFU just to let me referee here. So that's why it's my sort of favourite ground in that sense. But in terms of the other grounds, you could throw a blanket over what I call the rugby clubs, which are Saints, Tigers, and Gloucester, you know, because they play in their stadiums they've always played in. I never liked football stadiums. They just never had the same, for me, atmosphere.
There's a soullessness, isn't there?
Apart from it was at the time the biggest crowd when Bristol played Bath, I think in about 96, 97, when it was a sellout at Ashton Gate. It was like 23,000. That you've got an atmosphere then, but certainly what I call rugby grounds, Saints, Gloucester and Welford Road, were always a joy to absolutely, you know, referee at. But Bath will always just, for whatever those reasons, hold that sort of little special memory.
Oh, that's lovely. That's unexpected and very lovely.
I understand, and I've seen enough pictures in the past where it's a wet Friday night and there are people on that open terracing getting absolutely soaked. And people would say to me now, how can you say Bath is one of your favourite places to referee? But of course, I'm later getting freezing cold, having paid probably £50, £60 per ticket.
And the rest,
Double it for now.
Yeah. So do you have a favourite ground to be a spectator?
Well, then I would probably go back to FG, funny enough. Because in the old days, and I presume it's still the same, there is something about, particularly under lights, when Myler or Malinder or a number of the great kickers that the Saints have had line up a kick. It's a full house, and you could hear a pin drop. And there's something almost beautifully spooky about that. Because obviously it's not quite as big as Franklin's Gardens, and it's not quite as big as Kingsholm. But I always just found that there was something about that you could normally, it wasn't quite as, I don't remember either Kingsholm or Welford Road being as still and quiet as it would be at FG. And then normally the roar when either the kick went over or the when he missed. But then, I mean, there aren't. Those would be, as a spectator, I could never like going to Twickenham. I think it's because normally I've only normally gone on. Well, I haven't really been a spectator much at Twickenham at all. I've normally been working. So I think the big stadiums need to be full to get the atmosphere. And then, as I say, the football grounds never really did it for me. I think that I'm very much still a traditionalist at heart. So, as I said, every time you've got a game at Kingsholm, FG, or Welford Road, you thought, I'm going to a ground where the spectators appreciate good rugby, And it's a rite of passage that if you go to Gloucester and you're not saying you don't know what you're doing, you can't be able to train. It's sort of Welford Road was good, but I again sort of like it's a bit of a funny stadium now, Welford Road, because you've got the Crumbie, which is very old, and then the other side of the pitch you've got this fantastic stand, which actually does it hold more than the all of you can get in the Wrekin next?
The other three put together, yes.
Yeah.
I think it does. Yeah,
something
it's
ridiculous.
Very strange.
So, but yeah, I mean, say, it's quite now sort of like we get 900 to 1,000 at Rams, and sort of like that's the next best thing for me, I suppose. But I never really watched a lot of rugby anyway, as a spectator, because you're working all the time, and then as I said, as I said, one of the spookiest things I ever did was I actually did a fitness test at Twickenham in an empty stadium with just not the floodlights on, but the lighting for the stands. And it was like, that was surreal, because you're thinking, well, there's normally 86,000 people in here. And it's like, it was like the Gardens, but with no one in the ground. You could hear a pin drop, apart from me.
Wow.
Because they used to do, they've got that warm-up bit by the tunnel now, and I was doing doing the bleep test there, and there was me and a physio, and that was it. There was no one else, and it was like spookily surreal.
No, that's a bit. Yeah. Don't like that.
Well, thank you for that, Ash. You answered the question that we got quite animated about, and we need to talk to you again. That was the big debating.
You can talk to me whenever you like. I love talking about it.
Thank you. Well, we'd love to have you back on for the next exciting instalment of Which Law Lis and Claire take exception to, because I think we're going.
We've got a list.
We can keep going. Let's keep going. So anyway, yes, we'd love to have you. Have another chat with you.
Can I just add something? Because I don't want people to see this.
Yeah, of course you can.
Ashley Rowden and other referees don't care about safety. So we've lowered the tackle height in level 3 and below. And I don't think it really made any difference. I think that if you've read any of the stuff I've done on Facebook, I believe the issue on concussion and CTE is at the professional level, because they are not built like they used to be. But when I say about, they don't want the law brought in, it's sort of like, yes, we all care about safety, but I still think there's not been enough worked on as to how the players are getting injured. I think that sort of like at level 3, I think we've had in a season 2 concussions, at first team level.
Wow.
I won't name him, but he's fairly high profile. He no longer plays. But I used to speak to him when he was playing on Facebook, because we got on well. And in one season alone, he was concussed 5 times. Now, I don't know.
Ouch.
I don't know how long he was stood down for after each concussion. But I also have a concern that they talk about, it's the repetitive small knocks when they're training. And I think more needs to be done before we change the game dramatically. And then the other thing is, my dad played and got concussion, and he did get dementia. Whether it was through the concussion, I don't know. But every player who runs onto the pitch knows there's a chance they might get injured. It's a bit like saying to Ayrton Senna, bless him, and I choose him because he did die, we're going to restrict your car to 100 miles an hour, because we know that 100 miles an hour, if you have an accident, you'll probably live. And Ayrton Senna would have said that I don't want to be a Formula One driver, because I like the thrill of racing at a very high speed. And I think the players enjoy the physical contact, but we just have to, I think more work needs to be done about in their training time for the professionals, So before anyone looks and says, oh, it's okay for the referee to say, oh, don't bring down the tackle height, he doesn't care about safety. Every referee I know cares about safety. No one wants to see anyone hurt, and no one wants to see anyone down the line have a reaction to the way the game was played. But I still think that there's not enough medical research being done on what they do in training, because I think that might.
Yep.
Right,
there we go.
So,
right.
Yes, and I know there'll be medical people look at this and say, "You know nothing, Mr. Rowden. You're talking out your derriere." And no, I don't have any evidence to back up what I'm saying, but I know that I've seen some photos recently of Bristol, a certain Bristol player. He put it up on Facebook, and I said, "You wouldn't even get in the first team because as a back, let alone a forward. If you look at it's the size of the players, it's the pace of the game, and it's the power that they are putting into the tackles is the problem. And most of them here and here, that's like concrete. And then if you look at someone like Dawson or Delalio or any ex-professional player, even Jono, they are half the size when they've retired that they are when they're playing. And I think that's what people don't. Now, I'm not saying you should bring in a weight restriction or whatever, or I just don't know. And I think it's sort of like, it's very sad when people are being affected, and I won't name them, but we all know who they are. And I've refereed some of I think I've refereed all of these. If they're English, I've refereed all of these guys. Or if they're Antipodean, or if they're Welsh or Scottish and they played in the Premiership, I've refereed them. And I feel sad that they are having the medical troubles they've got. But I also tell you now, I bet if you asked all of them, would they do it all over again? I bet most would say
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would.
Yes.
And it's
I'm sure they would.
It's the looking after them, whilst at the same time not ruining the basic fabric of the game. So there you go. That's
brilliantly said, Mr. Rowden. Brilliantly said. It's an interesting.
Up and says that guy's an idiot, and I'm surprised you put something like that out. You should be ashamed of yourself.
You are much loved, and you know it. You are much loved, and you know it, and you know it. And so, thank you. Welcome back, everybody. Told you so. We are going to give him 50p next time because we want him to come back on, because clearly, in that Berkshire M4 corridor, everyone's fighting for fish heads when it comes to the internet.
That's the hamster running.
The wet string was clearly stressed, but no, we are eternally grateful. That was a fantastic,
super fun.
For some of it, the jaunt down memory lane. It was super.
Yeah.
Absolutely super. Some of those names. Oh,
yeah.
My mum's favourite, Steve Lander.
Oh.
Yes. Anyway. She liked baiting Mr. Lander in the days when he stood on the gravel at the riverside end.
Did he not fight back
once? He did.
Yes.
With the immortal words of, "Madam, I am the referee," to which my mother responded, "Good, I'm glad you started," which caused two sets of forwards who were trying to scrummage at the time to start shaking with laughter. Anyway, well done, Mother. Yes. So Mr. Lander, of course, famously Neil back punched him in a Tetley Biscuit Cup final.
Yeah, against
got a very long ban for that. Talking about violence on the pitch.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, well, we've got lots to talk about. We're going to pack it in quite quickly because, there's lots to talk about. So, Sale on Friday. Hey, Sale on Friday. I've lost the ear again.
Yeah.
Lovely, friendly game, and I think it was the perfect run out for Bristol.
I thought so.
I think obviously we didn't have the England and Scotland boys. Well, one Scotland boy back, but he wasn't playing. He dropped out in Hutch. But I thought it was a really, really, really entertaining game, particularly in the first half. It got a bit messy in the second half when we had the revolving door.
Tedious at times,
I thought it got a bit tedious because scrum after scrum after scrum. But I thought it was a great warm up. It would have been a 5-pointer if it had been.
Yes,
in the
lovely to see James Ram back on the pitch, George Henry on the pitch, and Tom Seabrook, and then to see Tom go off the pitch, having to be helped off, was just like, no, God, you can't do this to him again. That's not fair. So we'll await and see what happens. But
we've got everything crossed that Tom's okay.
Up until then, it was
we don't know. I haven't seen training this week.
No.
Yeah, and it was lovely to see him back. And as I said to Laura Hendy, I'm glad that Georgie's feet are still on the wrong way round.
Yeah. Yes.
She agreed.
Yes, it was a comfort for all of us that everything was still on back to front.
Yes,
so.
a blessed relief. Yes.
Yes, it was a joy to see. So it was...
And I had a very special guest.
You did. Yes. An American.
Mr. Scott, an American who was watching his very first rugby union match. He'd watched a bit of the Stormers. Well, he watched a bit in a pub in Ely many years ago with me, where he kind of got the idea, maybe I do want to go and see this sport. And then eventually we got him to a game on Friday. But in preparation, he watched a bit of the Stormers game and said, how did I not ever watch this sport? And so to see it live, sat next to me pitch side, when Berger went in for the first try, which was within the first 2 or 3 minutes of the game starting, all I heard to my left was, wow. Because this from a man who's used to NFL where you go, it starts, it stops, it starts, it stops. And inexorably they work their way down the field. Yeah. Whereas, you think of the kickoff, think of the number of plays, think of the ruck, think of the way the ball was carried, think of the way Courtney tapped the ball back to Drano, who passes the ball to Berger, who scores in the corner. All that, and we'd had plays on involving George in his feet being on the wrong way round, and all sorts of stuff happening on our side of the pitch before we'd not even got anywhere near the other side of the pitch. So, yes. So Scott had an absolute blast. Loved every minute. Would personally like to say thank you to everybody who looked after him so well. He got a view of our great club that he really appreciated, and what was left of him fell asleep in the car on the way back to Birmingham. But before that he said, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think most of North America knows how much Scott Kelby enjoyed that rugby game, because he's been telling all his mates. How do I know that? Because I've been getting messages. So hopefully we'll see him back at the Gardens again. I think he's got the bug.
Oh, brilliant.
But
wait
thank
till
you
he's
again.
there when it's full and the atmosphere, and it's a game that really matters.
Yes.
And be excellent.
And then it's being played at twice the pace of what we were watching. Yeah. Which for a photographer, he now understands how hard it is to be a photographer pitch side in a rugby game. So I think it was a really good run out. And we're going to quickly go to our Ladies Wot Pod player of the match, because there is a standout performer, isn't there, Liz?
There is for me. I mean, there was sort of lovely to see George Hendy back and James Round. There's a bit off and on, but for me, the player he was impressive last week at fullback. This week at scrum half, he was a blasted nuisance and he was blooming everywhere. So young Jake Garside gets it for me. He's just that lad plays with such passion, such heart, such bravery / stupidity that he's I was going to say, yes, not literally, but head and shoulders above a lot of other players, and it just grand to see him play such joie de vivre, and he plays. He's a scrum half in the Saints mould, isn't he? Fast, everywhere, in the way, everything. Lovely. Annoying. Yeah.
So, and there are a couple of things off the back of that. His replacement, Johnny Vyman, 17 from the under-18s, came on, and we saw him in training last week. He looked perfectly comfortable.
Well, apart from when he might have had to tackle Courtney. He didn't look comfortable when he might have had to tackle Courtney in training.
And he didn't look comfortable then during training. And he also didn't look comfortable when I gave him a hug. He's like, who is this woman? And then when I did it again, it's like, whoa, too much. So well done, Johnny. He doesn't get a Saints number because it was a friendly. It wasn't a capped game.
Well, it won't be long,
even
I don't
so,
think.
I have to say, when, Daz said, well, Johnny says he knows the words to the Shoe Army song, the players all looked at each other and went, well, He's got to lead it then.
Oh.
So he's led the Shoe Army song in the changing room at 17.
Stitched him up like a kipper there, then. Yes.
I don't think he minded being stitched up, to be honest.
Excellent. That's just brilliant.
Excellent.
So,
and a mention to Jake's mum, Anne.
Yeah. Yes.
Who wandered up to me before the game. Sorry, Anne, I was a bit distracted with American photographers and various other things going on at the time, including Mr. Dowson, who was also walking towards me. Anne described this podcast as comedy gold.
Shame it was meant to be deadly serious and insightful about rugby.
Well, we were. We were having an earnest conversation about the tackle height law. No, we weren't. Yeah.
I'm so pleased. We also have other friends who say they love it, and they forget that they're not here with us and try and join in the conversation. So
yes,
that's just stupidity on their behalf. Yes. But there you go. But it's great. But going back to Friday night, we did say honourable mention.
Right.
Honourable mention to Big Trev.
Oh yes,
who is just doing Big Trev things up to such a high level now. It's scoring tries, doing Big Trev stuff all over the pitch.
Aiming for the hat.
Yeah.
Well, aiming for the hat. He appeared. So if you look at the sequence of photographs, the Sale players are actually holding him back pretty well. And then he's like a bar of soap. He just appears through them. And you can see it's like, no! As inexorably, he goes for the line. And there's no stopping Big Trev. Fantastic try from him. I have to say, Lewis looks well up for it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He was putting it about a bit.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, really enjoyed Lewis's performance as well. So, so I think we're warming up nicely for Friday.
Yes.
It'll be interesting to see which of our internationals, but more of that shortly. So, Ladies Wot Pod, Jake Garside, there you go.
Player of the match. You get nothing for it.
From the Ladies Wot Pod.
Except a mention. Nothing else for it. But
except a mention. Now, England, I think that one's been done to death by everybody. But Tommy Freeman, well done on your try, lad. Fantastic try. And we started bouncing in the Jones household. We're not going to talk about what happened at the end because, frankly, it's boring.
Yeah.
And Mr. Borthwick, you did run out of time. It's the nature. When he blows his whistle, that means the game's over.
Yeah, that was an interesting take
just
on.
Clue.
We didn't lose.
Just
we just ran out of time. Yeah.
Yes. I think our lads, George, come home, and we'll, the S&C guys will mend you. Fraser, Finn, Alex Coles, come on home, lads. Let's get you back out there in the black, green and gold. Well done for representing your country. You did us absolutely proud. But we want you back in the black, green and gold. To be selfish about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got that little running to do.
Yeah. Just to say that...
Meanwhile, England under 20...
I was going to say, with Fremo scoring, it meant the Saints player had scored...
Oh, yes, the record continues.
Every player in every one of the grown-ups, Six Nations, and the under-20s. So, without us... Yeah. So, well done. Well done to all of you.
Yeah.
But then moving swiftly to the under-20s, what a game. What a game that a certain Saints player had that for some reason didn't get player of the match. But Archie, he has grown in stature throughout that under-20 Six Nations, I feel. And he was just superb, absolutely superb. And then Dowie Morris was singing his praises, and I kept thinking, yes, and he's ours, and he's ours. So
and he's ours, there. We get your hand off.
Yeah.
Yes.
All of you.
So Archie has grown in his stature throughout the season. He's had a great season for Bedford. Well, he started in the Premiership Rugby Cup for us. He's played for Bedford. He's got his head down. He's got on with it. He's worked really well with the coaches. He's worked really well with his other scrum halves. He's listened, and you can see how his game has matured.
Yes.
And Friday, he had an absolute belting game. I'm with you. I think he should have been the player of the match.
Yeah.
Much as we love the irrepressible
Henry,
man who had a shocker, Henry, and got
what
the
a bounce back.
Had a really good game. Bounced back, and actually himself said he's learnt a load as a player. So congratulations to England under 20s. a deserved under-26 Nations champions. Winning. They were doing a Saints coming back from so far behind.
Yes.
Anyway, yes. Elliot Millar-Mills.
Yeah.
Elliot was broken.
Broken. They
Pulled out
broke
the captain's run. We want him back. I have no idea how badly broken he is, but I blame the yellow boots.
Calf injury. They said,
nothing
didn't
but
they?
trouble since he got them.
Well, exactly. Calf injury. We know how troublesome they can be. But he's probably got his seen to a lot sooner than.
Get rid of them boots, Elliot.
Yes.
Come on. Want the old ones back? Yes.
And another mention to Italy, Forza Italia. Lovely to see a competitive Italy who've thoroughly deserved their place, not at the bottom, just hope that they can build on this and go from strength to strength start winning away from home, and which they did do, didn't they? So well done, Italy. Brilliant to see.
Well done, Italy. So absolutely, we're thoroughly looking forward to seeing where Italy go next.
Yes,
and I think and we will have a mention of a former Saint who's retired from international rugby, George North. Yeah, clearly emotional.
He was emotional.
So
I welled up a
George.
bit. Even I welled up a bit at the beginning of in the anthems. It's he's off to down to Provence, isn't he, with our Timana? So be meeting up with old Tay there.
And he's a bit of a motorbike merchant, so he'll probably be herring around the roads of Provence. So watch out, everybody.
I would imagine so. Yes, good luck with that.
Yes,
Provence.
Yes. Toaster under nines. I hear rumour it was a bit muddy.
It was beyond muddy. So because they've got so many. There was a festival up at Long Buckby, but they couldn't all go because there would have been too many teams. So volunteers were asked if they wanted to just stay at home and train, which Harry went into that because of Alfie being there and various other things that they were doing that day. And then, of course, it rained, didn't it, Saturday night and all of Sunday morning. And to be honest, they could have lost a small under 9 in the puddles, I think. So there was no Toaster under 9s. The festival at Long Buckby went ahead because they're, of course, right up on the top of the hill. So I think they drain better. Even so, the photographs I saw, they were, that one of Fran Cotton in New Zealand, Mud Monsters. I suspect it was a little like that. I think so. But
oh dear.
Hopefully, who knows? Who knows what the weather's going to do and whether anybody will ever play again. But yeah.
Well,
but sure they will.
Walking Rugby, on the other hand, doesn't have that problem, does it?
It doesn't, because we're in the barn. We're in the barn, and we have got a fixture on Thursday night against Coventry, who've been playing for quite a while, so it could be complete annihilation, but we don't care. We like Toaster under 9s as long as we're playing. Well, we care very much, but once the result's done and dusted, we won't. We'll all go for a curry and have a good time. So that's
excellent. That's what we want. That's what we want. Saint Supporters Club, you've got your trip to Bristol on Friday. Yeah. Any other news?
We do have other news, actually, because we are helping the club find volunteers to be Halos, is the working title. So volunteers to help meet and greet in and around the village. So this is as well as the stewards, but this is more the friendly face because stewards are there to do a job. So this is actually to like the pioneers, aren't they, at Saracens, that sort of thing. So to answer questions and to help people and be the friendly face. It's hoping that this can be launched at the Sarries game. So we have got some volunteers. Anybody else who wants to volunteer, email the Saint Supporters Club and we'll see if we can get you on into the pool of people that we will need to see us through the season. So we are lying second in the Secret Shopper warmest welcome at a rugby club. And the aim from the club is to get to first place. And the club and Mark Darwin see this as the way forward to have people in stash. And I'm hoping.
Well, I know that Sherpa
there will be
one
halos
is well
to
up
wear.
for it.
You know, I'm hoping there will be halos. I'll
Yes.
be all wings.
Sherpa
Wings
one
or
is well up
halos.
for it.
Yes, yeah, he was. So, so that's sort of meet, greet, answer questions, be ever helpful. And I think as well, part of the plan is to try and get people moved into the ground quickly as well, so that when kick-off starts, most people are in then, and we don't have the people sitting on the front row not able to see because people still,
rippling effect through the stadium as people try and find their seats.
Well, it's going to help. All that is going to help. So that's the big news from the supporters club. I say we've got the coach going down to Bristol that has got 23, 25 people on it, something like that. Still spaces if you want to book. That'll be open right up until Friday because it's booking online. Coach departs 2:30. Coaches to Quins, and coach is open for Bath as well. So, because nobody can afford to stay in Bath once they've bought the price of the tickets. So go by coach and come home.
I have to say, the Bath ticket situation is just ridiculous. Probably in terms, and I know our esteemed interviewee loved his time refereeing at Bath, but as a punter in the stands, it is
a spectator.
It's not a great experience.
It's appalling, and the fact that they are charging what they are charging, it's obscene. I mean, had we not already booked our accommodation, had it not been the last game of the season proper, we might. I know why we haven't been since pre-COVID days now. It's just an insult, to be honest. So for those who don't know, it is an insult. Their tickets, some of them are £109. £109, and I don't think that gives you a roof. We've got one with a roof, probably a restricted. I don't know, 79, something like that. And stand behind the goals is still 60. It's just crazy.
69. Yeah, £69 plus £2 booking fee. Dr. Jones is spitting feathers. He really is. I'm quite glad that as a photographer, I'm not being charged. But anyway,
yes, and of course on top of that, seriously, the booking fee, as if to add insult to injury, there is then the booking fee. So say we're going this year, but
I would say worst value in the Premiership rating goes to Bath Rugby Club. I hate to say it because. I mean, it's a fine old traditional ground. We all know that, but seriously, guys, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, but they won't care because they'll probably fill it because people go there in Bath and
Anyway, so but we've had a couple of signings and contract news, haven't we?
We have since
our Loughborough Lightning. Women have been joined by Laura Keats, who formerly of Worcester. Of course, sadly, Worcester folded earlier this season. Laura is a seasoned international prop, 62 caps. So welcome, Laura. Looking forward to seeing her.
Mm-hmm.
And then, touch.
Yes. So pleased. So pleased.
There were all sorts of rumours around Hutch. A certain French club. They've got a different centre.
Yes. Yeah.
But our man is staying with us, and I'm absolutely made up because he's played all his career for.
I'm pleased.
Us.
I'm pleased for him. I'm pleased for us.
I'm really, really chuffed. Yeah, I'm really, really chuffed.
Yeah.
And he's having a really, really good season. And that extra, Radders has had an effect on him.
Yes.
So you can see that extra steel in defence is, and cleverness in defence. He was always clever in attack. So brilliant, Hutch, brilliant news. I'm mega chuffed. And then it's Bristol. Now, Bristol are becoming a bit of a
bogey team.
Yes. Yeah. And I think this would be a good test of the mettle of the Saints lads. I think they're hurting over what happened earlier in the season because we lost them twice, once in the Premiership Rugby Cup and once at home, which smarts, because we shouldn't have lost that game. So, I think it will be interesting to see how we go on Friday under the shocking lights at Ashton Gate.
It is going to be interesting.
Clean the blessed things.
I'm just hoping.
I'm
just thinking. Okay, Bristol seemed to be a bit of a bogey team. Sale Sharks were a bogey team, but we dismantled them earlier at the Gardens. We made good the wrong there, and I think we're getting over those things, and I'm hoping that we. There's no reason why we can't.
The resilience is definitely there now, isn't it? The resilience is definitely there, and the depth in the squad is there.
Yeah.
And they've learnt how to win away, and they've won away in some really difficult circumstances.
Oh, some ludicrous.
Go through the list again.
No, but we can. Yes,
some ludicrous, and also some grounds that typically we've never won at, or we find it difficult to win. We found a way, and that's what we need. And I'm sure that's what Dowse and the coaches are desperate to get back into that mindset of, no, you're not going to get a one over on us. We're going to go down there and we're going to win it, and keep the momentum going, because the following week, it's Saracens.
Oh well, there we go.
At home in the gardens.
Just at home in the gardens, and it's Foundation Day as well, and all sorts of things, and. And Halo's Day,
Friday,
and Good Friday. Good grief, it's going to be a lot happening. So brilliant.
A lot happening. Brilliant. And then the women, it's now Women's Six Nations.
It is, yeah.
So you were Mrs. Saunders dribbling over the thought of going to Parma, but
yes, the women, the lucky women playing there against Italy. Yes, they're playing
at Parma.
Which is
the
ground's rubbish, but the town is absolutely amazing. Where you have a starter of Parma ham, and it's this like whole plateful of Parma ham, and the Parmesan cheese is just awesome. And Lambrusco, which those of us a certain age will just remember as rather unpleasant fizzy wine that used to leave at the back of the kitchen table at parties, but when you drink it in Parma, oh my God, it's a whole taste experience like nothing on earth. So I'm very jealous that they're going to Parma.
Yep.
And we're going to Bristol.
Yes.
But there you go.
We're going to Bristol. Meanwhile, poor old Scotland going somewhere in Wales. I didn't even look.
Oh, no.
So they'll probably get rained on.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and I have to say, congratulations to the Red Roses, because you've now got your own Twitter account. Red Roses.
So good.
Yeah.
And did we mention our 3 under 18s? Sorry, our 3 under 18s?
We did not. We did not. Well, we sort of did last week, but I think it's been formally announced who's in the squad for the
festival, they call it, don't they?
England, the under 18 Six Nations. So many Six Nations now. So, and Bedford School are doing very well this season. Congratulations to Bedford School and Stowe School. So the Bedford School boys are Aidan Ainsworth Cave, who's a back. And remember him from the under 18s.
Yes.
The IT department's favourite back.
Rafe
with the axe. And then, of course, Johnny Vyman, who made his, well, I can't say he came on as scrum half on
in
Friday.
A senior uncapped game,
in a senior uncapped game. So go well, gentlemen. I hope it all goes swimmingly.
Yes.
And it's all go from now on in, isn't it?
It is indeed. It is indeed. Very much so.
It is indeed.
But we will regroup after the Bristol game, Mrs. Jones, for Ladies Wot Pod episode 20, for goodness sake.
Episode 20.
Well, because there's one thing, just thinking, we didn't mention Media Watch because we're not going to mention Lookies. They didn't really mention us, so I'm not going to bother.
Oh, well, no, they did actually. They did exactly the same this week that they did last week. And they said the Saints boys are going really well. So maybe somebody's just tapped on the shoulder.
It was after the trampolining and the
It was after the trampoline and the gymnastics. But
and-
it was some international gymnastics. So
yeah,
you know.
yeah, there was something else that
And
was
he is an Olympic
obscure.
champion.
Yes, the
Yeah,
gymnastics.
It was a bit,
I'll give you the gymnastics.
tiddlywinks in.
There was something else before then that had been close to tiddlywinks in greys, but yeah.
Yes, yeah.
But anyway,
But they had a go. Yes.
it was
So
a passing
I'm not going
nod.
to say well done, Lookies. Just keep going.
Just
No, you
build
keep
on
going.
that. Build on that.
And yeah.
So up for Bristol.
Thank you, Mrs. Saunders. I shall
Thank
see
you,
you in
Mrs.
Bristol.
Jones. You will indeed. Yeah, hopefully.
That was the Ladies Wot Pod.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.
Episode 19.
Yeah.
Bye bye.